Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Ron. Just started today. Last time we met was Monday, and we tied in some things with Isaiah 58. We were looking at Haggai, uh, that first chapter, and what takes place there when they were going to build the temple, and we were seeing that just like looking at the repairs of the breach, just like looking at uh, what it really means to fast. These are internal journeys that we take. The temple being us, we are in the midst of repairing that as we speak. All of this, all the scriptures paint pictures of us repairing ourselves and putting ourselves back together so that we may become uh, uh, we must become what we're supposed to become in order to change the world. So what the enlightenment that we ourselves see that we are becoming is what the world sees as well. So it's no coincidence when we look at these things and it seems like all of the lessons tie together and fit together into one piece, pretty much with similar messages. And so that's no coincidence. So, if you would, any questions and or comments, anything about what we've discussed so far, or anything else that may have grabbed your attention?
Good morning, Ron.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. This is George in Philly. I'll just start out by saying I had a experience yesterday where I had a chance to meet, with the commissioner of the Philadelphia Police Force, along with the mayor's cabinet, and they had a community roundtable where they wanted to kind of really just reach out to hear from the community in terms of how I would just say the repair the breach. I'll just use that as a way in terms of our discussion. And I
Hold
think it
on,
would,
hold on 1 second, George.
okay.
Um, Emil is having trouble with she said I have to stop the recording and restart it again. So I don't know. Let's hold on just a second so we can make sure. I apologize to you though, because it sounds like you're going into something we need to hear. Give me just a second to see if she comes back.
Isn't Sheldon recording?
That's what I thought. But
I was about to start, but then it started before I could get to it, so I thought it was taken care of.
okay, it says someone else hoping that 6735 is hosting now. So Vermil, are we good? Can you hear me? Let me text her right quick, see.
Ron, we're started over already. Sorry about that.
Okay, so we can go ahead and get started.
We're good. Yep, we are.
Thank you. Thank you very much. No problem. Sometimes we have some issues. No problem at all. Again, apologize, guys, but it's Ron. We get started again this morning. We just talked briefly mentioned where we were, what we talked about last week, and us seeing ourselves in the scriptures, and it may even seem redundant at times, but the necessity of it, and where we are now. So we're asking to see if anybody had any questions or comments. And George had the floor. George, I apologize to you. If you could start over for me, I'd appreciate it, sir.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I just wanted to mention that I had the opportunity of attending a community roundtable, with the commissioner of the Philadelphia Police Force, along with other leaders of the city of Philadelphia, talking about the issue of violence. But I wanted to refer, Ron, in reference to us reading about Isaiah chapter 58. And I really felt that there's a sense of the mayor, Parker, and her leadership, really wanting to hear from the heart and souls of people.
Mhm.
And what was interesting is that being in the presence of all who were in attendance, there was a spiritual connotation in terms of putting all of the egos aside and really listening to the hearts of those who feel, how can we address the issues of violence, address the issues of gun violence. And it just made me, feel that I know that we're putting it out in the macro for healing, and our desires. And so I just wanted to share that because again, it's just an opportunity where normally I don't, necessarily get caught up in the political things to a certain extent in reference to the city of Philadelphia. But I feel very strongly that because of our conversations, we need to again cry out, in that way that our voices can be heard or the trumpets can be sounded in a way that hopefully, we can see manifestations of our creative desires. So I just wanted to share those thoughts and just keep, us in your prayers and meditation with regards to how we can continue to reach out. So I just wanted to share those thoughts, Ron, just as something related to what we have been discussing. I'm done. Unless there's any questions.
Yeah. Any questions, guys? Thank you, George. I appreciate that, and as I'm sure we all do, to see these things manifest, these things work in place, and changing the hearts of men, changing the energy out there, and maybe as you were talking, I was thinking about the slogan that your city is known for is that city of brotherly love. Maybe that is an opportune place for all of this to initiate, So yeah, I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah. And thank you, Ron. And again, I just only mention it because this is our first female mayor of the city of Philadelphia. And I think that her energy, her spirit is what's really initiating having governments or having everyone come together with a sense of oneness. So again, it's just something that's interesting that's out there in the macro, in terms of not just the city of Philadelphia, I think the universe. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, everywhere.
I'm happy to know, that our prayers are being received and we're able to continue to move forward. I'm done again. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Every now and then you can't pick up or get a news feed or turn on the set and not see some type of violence. And I think instead of being insensitive to it, I'm becoming more sensitive to it. And it does have its toll on us. I saw one this week, early part of the week, that really, really touched me. This young man, young African guy, was a principal at a school, and he had an affair with one of his teachers. And you guys may have read about this. He had an affair with one of his teachers, and of course he's married, but she gets pregnant, and in the midst of that, he solicits his friend, one of his good buddies, to assassinate her. And it just that kind of touched me. That really cut. You think at a certain point in life you've made it, and you're trying to move forward and build a life, and you're married and you're doing something, and you take a step back like that. And I just sit back and think, wonder what he's thinking now. What is he thinking? He's just ruined 3 families, because the Friends family is ruined too. I mean, but just senseless violence and but anyway, just one thing. But you see it all the time. It's everywhere. But that's what we're doing. That's why we're on the line. Thank you, George. Anyone else? Okay. Um, I read an interesting article this morning in Matthew chapter 2. I read about Matthew chapter 2, and something I thought was interesting about that. I read this article. I'm gonna start this. We're all familiar with this story when Jesus was born, but I'm gonna start this in verse 7. Then Herod secretly called the Magi and ascertained from them the time the star appeared, and he sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and make careful search for the child, and when you have found him, report to me that I may come and worship him." And having heard the king, they went their way, and lo, the star which they had seen in the east went on before them until it came and stood over where the child was. And when they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. And they came into the house and saw the child with Mary, his mother. And they fell down and worshiped him and opened their treasures and presented to him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned by God in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed and went their own way, went their own country by another way. I looked at that this morning, earlier this morning. Something caught my eye with that. And the thing that caught my eye is when you look at this from the Talmud, according to this rabbi that I was reading about, he's saying they did not bring gifts. They brought a gift. And I'll explain that in a minute. But he also talked about the origin of the word magi, as we have come to know it as wise men. There is nothing out there that other than the translation here that says that. They were known, they were holy men, they were priests, and the gift that they brought to him, frankincense and myrrh were two oils that was mixed together when you went into the Holy of Holies. So when you went into the Holy of Holies to make offering to God, these were some of the oils that were mixed together. So it wasn't that they brought all this stuff to him. They brought something to make a making offering to God. And it was symbolic of saying who Jesus was. They recognized who he was in that manner. So looking at that from that perspective, the gold was seen as something that was it has something to do with the properties of it not being able to not changing temperatures, and so it was the purity of it and everything that went into the Holy of Holies. And not only did the Hebrews use gold for such purposes, but other priests did as well. So the purity of it is where the oils were mixed. when you made this offering unto God. So what does that say to us as we understand this them coming from the east, or coming from the place of the rising sun, or coming from the place of beginning? They come unto him. That is where I see us anyway, as we are being reborn, if we are being refreshed, if you will. We are not only looking at ourselves in a way that we've never seen ourselves like this before, meaning seeing ourselves not through a religious eye, but spiritually, and recognizing something that is more community than I've ever seen myself before. Recognizing that my wants and desires, as the scripture says, ask and you shall receive, whatever you knock it, and this will be open to you. Those things, those requests, those things that were once important to you are not as important anymore. Those things that we once valued, our values have changed, and we are more community driven, our community thoughts, more family oriented in our thinking. So I think anyway, this offering of these spices to commune with God in that, using these spices that were supposed to be used in the Holy of Holies, is saying to all of us that you are a high priest now. If you desire, if you see this, if you desire to walk in this way, if you desire to give up these things that have been most precious to you, you are part of the passing of the guard to being what the earth needs for there to be sacrifices. So what is the sacrifice? The sacrifice is the people on this phone giving up the lives that they've had, that, as I said, the things that were important to you, the things that occupied your mind are not those same things now. So you become not only part of the altar, you become part of what is being sacrificed and what is being rewarded and offered up to the Creator. And we are very much a part of this. I see this as standing in the gap, sort of, being the priest in the earth for mankind. And there was something else that I saw, I can't remember right now, but let me stop there and see if there are any questions or comments.
Ron, this is Evelyn. Good morning, family. I often think about Kathy when she talked about how people always want a seat at the table. I think she said at one time, you always wanted to have the seat at the table. But when you start learning who you are, you realize that those things are not necessary. To me, not being at the table, you serve mankind much better in certain situations. But if she's on the line, Kathy, can you go back over that, if that's okay with you, Ron, and the family?
Of course.
Good morning, family. I'm trying to think, Evelyn. I'm trying to remember when we talked about that, because it's funny. When you said that just now, I was listening, and I remember we did talk about having a seat at the table. But when you said that, something different resonated with me this morning. And I'm just going to throw it out there and see what you all think. The reason we don't need a seat at the table anymore is because I am realizing that we are the table. And what I mean by that, I was just thinking of how many people are fed at our table. And what I mean by that, they're fed because of what we are learning, who we are, who we now know that we are, what we're sharing and what we're giving. So needing a seat at the table becomes less relevant because we recognize that we are the table at which all can be fed. And I know that's not what I said years ago, but I'm not the person I was years ago either. We're learning, we're changing, and we're growing. So does that make sense to anyone? Are you seeing it that way, or am I kind of missing the ball here, Ron. What do you all think?
No, not at all. You're right on point. That's what I'm saying. We are not, Pastor, you have something, but we are not at the same place we were.
When Evelyn was talking, that's exactly what came to my mind. We are no longer seats at the table. We are the table. But no, more importantly, all the incense, the mirror, everything that was offered in the Holy of Holies, we are not offering it, we are it. Everything that was supposed to have been offered, that was spoken of as being offered, as an offering to our Creator, we are it. We don't offer anything. We are everything that is to be offered. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
We
Yes.
are everything. We are totally in a different place. Evelyn, I want to see if that helps you first, because there is so much that I need to talk about today. There's so much I need to say today. There's so much I've been shown in the last few hours, actually.
Well, I just want to say, Kathy, thank you. I mean, yeah, you didn't say that at that time. What you just said, no, you didn't say it at this time, but like you said, you're not the person that you were at that time. But what you said, it just resonates with me so deeply. I'm smiling because I don't think there could have been a better answer right now. So thank you. Thank you.
And I'm smiling because you asked that question, because I hadn't even thought about that again. But that's what I love with what we do. We bring up stuff that we taught, and then we see who we are and how we've grown beyond that to understanding who we are. So thank you for that question, Evelyn.
Bless you. I love you. Thank you.
And my
too.
point, the last point that I wanted to make, you guys just made it for me. It says in the scripture several times, the child, the child, the child. That is a spiritual metaphor. We look at where we've come from. As Kathy said when she started, I'm not the same person I was a year ago. As we go through this spiritual maturation process, we are not the same. And as we grow, this is something that you volunteer to be. This is something that you have given your all to become. So as little children, we have submitted ourselves, we have opened ourselves, we have become vulnerable to become what the Creator wanted us to be. And the reason why I use the word vulnerable, because none of us could really see and understand what this truly meant to take this journey. But we stepped out and did it anyway because we trust, just like a child trusts their parents to do what is right. So anyway, I hope that made sense. Any other questions or comments before?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I don't mean to break into what you were talking about this morning. However, I'm just getting on for a reason. So many things have happened. And quite frankly, I have been shown so many different things, even down to what I was supposed to have to eat this morning, how I was supposed to prepare it, the whole 9 yards. Most of you may not know, but Phoebe's currently in the hospital, and she went on Thursday night. Yesterday, when I came back home to sleep, I felt something different and didn't know what it was. Last night, as I was sleeping, something happened to me. 3 different times last night, I felt like I was dying. Life was leaving me. And I felt pressure on my chest, but it wasn't pain. It was like in the center of my chest and my sternum. And then a message entered me. I began to see things and hear things. And something told me I needed to write and deliver. That's what I heard, write and deliver. So it was exactly 4:43 when I got up this morning. And this is what I wrote, and this is what I'm delivering. I asked Barbara to organize a program for us to host this guest preacher. And please, I want you to listen intently because this is the first time I've ever read it since I wrote it. And this is my experience as I'm experiencing it as you experience it as well. The program was at a building that I've never seen before. It was a different kind of structure. It was full of light, but the building did not have walls. Even when we approached it, there were no bricks, there was no wood, there was no side. It was simply light. But I knew that it was a building, and the we of whom I speak are the teachers. When we approached that building, with me was the preacher who we were supposed to host, and when we left from one site and traveled to that building. When we arrived, it was filled to capacity, and there were a multitude of people. Yet the only faces that I was able to recognize was Barbara's at that moment, and I could the others I could recognize the voices, but I did not see the faces. Everything was light, and all the voices of the teachers were there. It's not that everyone was talking at the same time, but I knew the presence was there, the voices were there. All of them were light, and once the message was being delivered from the host preacher, I could see the face of the preacher, yet I couldn't describe him beyond simply being dark, but not dark in the sense of someone's skin complexion, but dark in terms of not being light. And the message was delivered. And I don't remember anything that he said yet. I know that it wasn't what we had been shown. I knew it was the normal church message. I knew it was that, but what was said, I don't know. He completed the message. I was separated from him. And then during this period, I saw a book lying on the floor. And on the book cover, there were two hands. Both of them were translucent. They were pure light, but they were on the book. And as I touched the book, the hands got brighter, and they began to raise from the book cover. And as the hands rose, the light began to swirl like a tornado, but not with the speed of a tornado. It swirled slowly and deliberately. And as it swirled, a voice spoke to me and said, "Witness the light and the life of humanity rising from the soul of the African." It's the light. As the light continued to swirl, people became visible, and I could see them as they occupied different areas of the earth. They were involved, like something rising from the ground and a swirl in motion, but these were people instead of objects. And they landed in different parts, in different areas of the earth. And as they landed, they began to take human form. And all of them looked different, but I knew that all were the same. It's strange because they looked different, but all of them looked exactly the same. And then the earth itself began to separate itself from everything, from each other. And there were large tracts of land separate. And then the preacher appeared again. And as we were leaving the structure, I saw this friend of mine. He was sitting on the pew, and it was trained actually. His name is Harold, but he's the current mayor of Union. Back in the day, he used to. He was one of the people watch my back. Always had my back, when I saw him, he and I and the preacher were approaching the vehicle that we had come in, but the preacher said he was not going to return in that vehicle. He was going to drive his own. And I asked him, where did it come from? And he said he had it delivered, and he would drive us back to the building that we left before attending the program. The car itself, I remember distinctively that it was a bright yellow and it had a black interior. And in my mind, I was thinking that this is really a nice car. And he entered the driver's side and we left. We got lost, and I was telling him that we were not supposed to be traveling in the direction that we were heading in. And he insisted that he was right. He asked Train, my friend, to give him, and listen to this, he asked him specifically to give him $110. Train said to him, if you have a 10, I have 110. So Train gave him $130, and he gave Train the $10 back in change. And in my mind, I knew that his expectation was to receive $110 from everyone who has attended. I did not know why, I still don't know why, but that I knew that what was in my mind. And he couldn't find his way back to our place of beginning, nor could he remember how to get back to where the program had taken place. We were simply lost. And then Train noticed that we had left the state. Now, I don't know what that means either. All of a sudden, our tags, license plates from North Carolina began to appear, and we knew that we were outside of the boundaries of where we were supposed to be. And the preacher tried to use his GPS, but it wouldn't work. And he handed it to me, and I wasn't able to type a destination. He wanted to go back where we were before we went to the program, but I could not type a destination. It would, every time I touched it, nothing happened. Finally, the voices of the teacher became apparent, and they were searching for us. I could hear them, and I could hear male voices. I could hear distinctively, I heard Kathy's voice, and I don't know actually what she was saying. I could not understand what she was saying, but I do know that the teachers were searching for us. And when she finished speaking, we were back at the place where the program had been held, and no one was in the driver's seat. All of a sudden, we were being told to follow the guide that was in front of us. I never saw anyone in front of us. The driver's seat in the car that we were occupying was vacant, and no one could occupy it. I even told Train to get out and get under the steering wheel, but he couldn't get out. And see, he stayed in the rear of the car. And then I was no longer visible to myself, yet following the guide. And now at this point, I could see no one. All I could see was light. I did not see the preacher that we hosted anymore. I did not hear his voice anymore. Everything turned to light, and the light. I was told that the light was peace, and the light was the life of humanity, and the African was everywhere. And no longer could I see the hands that had risen from the cover of the book. Everything was changing into light, and I awakened at actually when I woke up at 5:43 this morning. I was told to write and to deliver this message, and during this period of time, I had the pressure in my chest that turned to pain, and I was told to lie down. When I went back to bed to lay down, it was 6:20, and when I laid down, this voice said to me, "Stop breathing." And when I stopped breathing, I could feel my heart beating. Then all of a sudden, I did not feel it beating anymore. It was, and I held my breath. The heart stopped, and I was lying there. And then all of a sudden, when I started breathing again, there was no pressure and there was no pain anymore in my chest. And I did not feel that pressure or that pain anymore until I started speaking about it. And I right now, as I said to you, this was the first time that I read what that I wrote. It's the first time I've recounted in my mind what I wrote. I don't know what it means. I do know that there are no numbers involved. I do know that it's a message. But the thing that got to me is that as I begun to breathe again, when I started back breathing and I felt my heart beating again, I knew that the building that we had been carried to was in Kemet. I knew that it was in a place that we have never been before. And I knew that we were leaving a place that we had occupied for quite some time. But now the place where we were was totally different. At this point, I don't know whether I have answers in my soul. I don't know whether I have questions in my soul. But I don't have anything else about that to share with you. But I do know that this I was supposed to share. And I thought about, am I to record this? Am I to just, is this housekeeping? And something said to me, no, this is a message for humanity, and humanity will understand it. And I don't know to this moment what all of that means, but I'm sharing it with you because I have been instructed to do this, to share it with you. And that's it. If there are questions, I don't know whether the answers are in me or not. If there are understandings about what's being said here, I appreciate them because I know what the understandings are not from flesh and blood. This is not something to be discussed in a religious way. These are not questions that will be asked in human terms. These are This is a spiritual experience, and the experiences that are resonating with me deeply right now are spiritual experiences. And I'm saying to all of you that you are exactly right. You are not who you were 5 minutes ago. You're not who you were 10 minutes ago. You are different. Right now, I still see the light that I experienced. It was not yellow light. It was pure light. It was a light with a brightness I've never experienced before. It's a brightness that I do not believe that anything in earth can mimic. But it was living light. It was breathing light, but yet there was no chest to be raising, but it was life itself. And there was even with the message that was being delivered, there was no discontentment. No one was feeling out of sorts because of it. It was as though a message was being delivered for the last time. And that message that was being delivered for the last time was a message that all of us had been familiar with for so many years. And now here we were deposited in this place of light itself called Kemet. And there are other things that I saw, not in regards to this, but in regards to so many other things that our lives are being bombarded with, and so many other things that we have experienced over the years that now is becoming, that the understandings of them is becoming clearer to me. Even the reason and for the museums that keep popping up all over the place. The messages in the museums, the African museums that are popping up all over the place are not a message about slavery. They are a message about resilience. They are a message about the nation, building a nation worldwide. There is no place on earth that did not rise from the soul of the African, as no people did. Every nation on this earth that calls itself a first world nation was designed and built by the soul of the African. And I've been shown this, that these museums are a reminder of our brilliance, our ingenuity, our divinity. It is a reminder of our obligation to be the life of humanity and the light of humanity. And without hesitation or reservation, and I will say this to you, I wondered what would happen when I spoke about this and something said to me not to worry. You've been through worse. So I'm saying that all of these things to you because this is what I have been told. This is what I have been shown. And no longer are we to speak about things like we were talking earlier about the incense rising up, being burned at the altar. We are the altar. We are the incense. We are the Holy of Holies. We are all of the things that we thought were ritualistic. They are not rituals. They are us. They are our DNA. They are the cells in our spiritual bodies. They are our mindset. They are everything that we are, and we are everything that they are. And because of that, we have been brought into this earth for the express purpose of balancing everything that is out of balance and bringing into existence everything that has not existed since the beginning of time. I'm done. Any questions or comments? That's what I have for you today, and that's it.
I think one of the things that stood out to me were the times that you spoke of. What was the first one? 5:43.
5:43.
Isn't that 11? Okay. And then the 6:20 is 8. Do you see doorway and new beginning in any of this? What's your take on that, or anybody for that matter? Because somebody else may see it.
To be
Let me,
honest with
let me
you,
just,
Yeah.
I thought I heard 4:43 to 6:20.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It was 4:43.
That's what
It
I
was
thought I
actually-
heard.
So what is that? That's 11, right?
I may have said 5:43.
Yes, yes, it is 11. And I'm
Okay.
sorry, I apologize. Go ahead, who was speaking? I'll come after
ahead.
you.
Go ahead.
Is it okay to go? Proceed?
The numbers I said to you are the numbers I saw at that moment.
Okay, well, 443, Ron, as you mentioned, the root number comes to 11.
Okay.
11 symbolizes enlightenment and inspiration. The number 11 represents female and male equality and has a vibrational frequency of balance. And when we look at that balance, and Pastor mentioned about 620 when he laid down, that's the number 8. And the number 8 we spoke about in terms of new beginnings, but it speaks about the importance of self-empowerment through right actions and right livelihood. I just wanted to share, the spiritual meaning of those numbers. And again, I'll come back to the 110 and the 130, but I just wanted to share those thoughts as we were speaking about numbers. So I'm done, Ron. I just wanted to
Thank
share
you.
those.
Thank you, George.
Barbara, what were you saying?
No, I was looking, the numbers are what caught my attention as well. And then subsequently what transpired in terms of how you described the light after you talked about when you awoke and when it ended. So George has already enlightened us on what those numbers mean. But the thing that I resonates with me right now is when he reminded us what 11 meant, which was enlightenment and inspiration. And then the dream or the vision was about light. I'm still not where I need to be in terms of the book itself, but the book, it's almost like the book was a holder of light, and then it wasn't. That light was all encompassing, so the book wasn't, the book was what drew your attention to the light, and then the light became the all encompassing important aspect of what this all was about. And that's all I have right now.
Yeah, but too, Barbara, what you just mentioned when we talked about 11, we talked about the portal, we talked about the gateway,
Yeah.
and so I think that when we met on 11/11/11, it's still coming back to me spiritually in terms of the foundation, what was written, and how the creative manifestation is happening now as we revisit this conversation. So, I know you spoke about the concept of the portal, and maybe someone may want to elaborate on that a little bit more. But when we talk about the gateway and we talk about the Lion's Gate, but what does that mean right now?
Oh, George. Part of what Pastor described was that the light went everywhere, and wherever it went, subsequently manifested itself as people. And so it's almost like it's like this enlightenment. What we're talking about is a manifestation of what we've been saying all along. That whatever it's hard to describe. It's like a seed that's already shown itself. It was planted and it's already revealed itself. That the light we were talking about
the vision was that it's already planted over on the earth. It's already where it's supposed to be. And so what we will subsequently see is manifestations of the light. The light that came from the book with the hands is already where it's everywhere.
And as it swirled, a tornado comes down. This did not come down. It came up from the book. The swirling started at the book, and the top of it began to spread exponentially as it rose from the book. But I never really saw it disconnect from the book itself. I just saw the swirling of it. I've subsequently seen some other things that I'll share in a moment, but I still feel the presence of everything I experienced when I was being shown this. Where are we? We are in the midst of a place of the spiritual essence of what Kemet is and always been. Yet, we are also in the presence of this thing called Egypt, and I understand it now. I know what it means. I know the reason the Creator allowed it to be written as Egypt as opposed to Kemet in that book that we call a Bible book. I know why now. I understand it. It is impossible. It is impossible. The African has been convinced that it has been something that it is possible for it to have ever been. It is impossible for the African to ever have been a slave. The word slave comes from Slav. Slav are the northern European people. And it is impossible that we were ever Northern European people. Northern Europeans came from us. We did not come from them. We were not slaves. We were enslaved, meaning that our minds were manipulated to convince us that we were slaves. Enslavement means that you were put in something that you never were and that you never could be. We were never the mindset of a European, and neither can we ever be that, but we were convinced that we were that. And that is the cramped space that was created by our mindset. And that cramped space is called Egypt. And that cramped space exists economically, physically, and mentally and spiritually for us to this day, because we talk about having been enslaved. Keep in mind, been enslaved doesn't mean you are enslaved. And when we get to the mindset that we are not enslaved and we have never been enslaved, we have convinced ourselves based upon the manipulation. And now that the freedom has been shown to us, the freedom that we've always had within us, but never recognized it for what it is, because we have been ashamed of who we are, and we have been made to be uncomfortable talking about the reality of what exists in this earth as it does in the heavenly bodies. We are it, and the it is everything that is, and without us being it, nothing can exist as it does exist, and never would have existed if it were not for us being the it. And the it is the essence of the Creator in this earth that is embodied in these physical things called bodies. And because of that, we are at a place now where we are being shown that our responsibility is no longer something to be reached for. Our responsibility is something that we are living at this very moment, and we must continue to live it. And there are going to be obstacles in the way, but every time that there is an obstacle, remember the light coming from the book. The book is not a book of paper. It's not a book of flesh. The book came from some place that I have never seen before, never experienced before. All I know is that the book was lying there. And I see that as the book in which all the names were written. This is not a book that we think about that it was called a book because we understand what a book holds, information, understandings, and it was called a book because of that. The essence of the book is spirituality, spiritual truth. The essence of the book It's the reality of everything that is. It is not a book like we think a book is. We, in essence, if there is anything of a book that exists like a book that we think a book is, it is us. We are the book. Everything that needs it is in the DNA, and the DNA are the letters, the words, the paragraphs, the chapters in the book that has been written. Our DNA is written in everything that lives. Our DNA is written in the annals of the universe, and nothing can erase that. Nothing can change that. We are it, and it is us. And because of that, we are looking for something that we are already. We have been looking for and crying out for balance. We are the balance that we have been searching for, just as we are the God that we were looking for. We are Elohim. We are everything that we have been searching for. Embrace it and understand it. And then no longer will we be encased in a place of a cramped space called Egypt. We will flourish in the reality of Kemet itself. That's who we are. All of these things, all of these things around us are simply reminders of our greatness. And our greatness is not superiority. Our greatness is that we were able to suffer and still love. Our greatness is that we were able to hate and still love. Our greatness is that continuous hate is thrown our way, but we continuously forgive and we continue to love. That's the power, that's the strength, that's who we are, that's who we're created to be. Our children need us desperately as they never needed us before. Without us embracing the nature, the reality of who we are, the essence of our being, this whole earth will crumble. And we have made a commitment, not on our watch. And because of that commitment, the earth has been savaged from a place of destruction and from actually having a destination. Now the earth has a destiny as opposed to a destination. There will not be an end to there will not be an end to anything that we have and are experiencing. It will always be continuous. And this was meant from the beginning. And that is the reason you can call it Egypt. You can call it anything you made it to be, and it shall continue to be everything it was created to be. The word Kemet speaks to the land of the blacks. In the land of the blacks has nothing to do with skin tone as much as it has everything to do with the consciousness of the African, the consciousness of a Kabbalah, the consciousness of the first entity in this earth to be labeled human. And out of this human, this book, came everything in this earth, and the land mass is separated because of the power of this book. And the reason they separated is because Elohim that came up from that book had to be able to bring things back together. And bringing things back together means that they have to first be separated. And we are in that place now where our responsibility is being met, bringing everything together. Do not believe what your eyes see. Believe what your eye sees and your heart experiences. Do not believe what your ears hear. Believe what your internal experiences are, and you will see the reality of the unicity of humanity, just like you see the unicity of Elohim and that thing that's called a human. I'm done. Thank you. That's where I am. That's where we are.
Ron, I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
While every pastor and Barbara and George were talking, I saw, I heard Barbara say that we planted seeds. Seeds have been planted. And then I thought about how Pastor had this vision, dream about what he just told us about. And then I thought about the month of March. We're in the month of March. March means a time for transformation and rebirth, new growth, fertility, and procreation. How does that fit with what we're talking about now? That's my question.
Hold a second, Evelyn. Let's throw on top of that the fact that today is 3/17,
3/10,
2024.
17?
Mm-hmm.
Which George double checked me. I think that ends up being one, unity.
Absolutely, the
Unicity.
oneness. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's why everything is resonating right now. Everything is vibrating. It's like one. It's like one. We always say one accord. That's what we say. But have you felt one accord before? Have you felt the resonance? It's almost like I don't want to say we've arrived. We've already been there. But when you pluck the string of a guitar, it just resonates, and you know that's the right key. That's the right note. That's what this feels like.
You said we've been there. We've already been there. I think what we're doing now is recognizing it. We're recognizing that we've been there.
This is Fernell. I have a question. What is the meaning of hands?
Authority,
Thank you.
power, hands, authority, power, creativity, protection, provision, all of that's done with the hands.
And did you state that part again for me, Pastor? You said as you touched the book, the hands came off the book.
Yes, as I touched the book, the hands began to rise from the book and began to swirl into light.
Okay.
And as the light swirled, people were appearing and were distributed throughout the land. And as they,
So would you say that was an exchange of authority? A passing on?
I think, no, I believe that was a giving of authority
Okay.
from the spiritual to the earth. This was a transference of power.
Yeah.
You dominate. This was that period of domination, that period of authority that was given to the human. And that authority had been abdicated because of manipulation and fear. Now that authority is being reclaimed, not by taking something as much as becoming aware of everything. Nothing is to be learned. Everything is to be made aware of. Because the scripture says the spiritual man knows all things. This all it's saying is this: you cannot teach the spirit, you cannot teach the soul anything. It already knows
so the-
everything because it is everything. It
And
is
so the preacher couldn't get you back to where you were because the preacher never really, the preacher's lost himself. So he couldn't guide you or take you back somewhere when he couldn't even get there himself. And so it was symbolic to me that, you know, there isn't going to be that reliance anymore on somebody external to us telling us what it is we can do and where we can go and what, you know, how much how important we are. That's not going to happen anymore. And the manifestation of the light everywhere is that other people are going to pick up on that same kind of notion that nothing external to me is greater than me internally. But the issue is that people have got to understand that none of it is about me as an individual, me selfishly. It's me as part of the greater oneness of everything.
I'm not sure. that I was not the preacher being hosted. I was the host as well as the one being hosted. That aspect of my life is gone. I'm something different. It died those 3 times in that bed, and I didn't know it till now. Suppose that all of that was set up because I had to see the death of the preacher and the birth of the spiritual entity of deliverance. No inhibitions anymore, people. No thoughts of making people feel comfortable with what I say and what I see. Not trying to make you comfortable, trying to make you real. I do believe that indeed I was that preacher being hosted. And all of those words, all those things of religion that I embodied are no longer with me. I'm no longer it. And sandwiched between 2 wombs, a birth took place. One setting up the opportunity for the programmatic things to take place, and the other in search of that which appeared to be lost. And that what appeared to be lost was not found as much as it was made aware of it having never been lost. The death of that religion has reached its final stages, and the womb of the Barbara, the womb, Kathy, the womb of the teachers, the seed of the men, the voices, all of these things were prominent in bringing us to this place of being a tapestry that has been woven without needle or thread, but has been woven from the heart of the one who brought everything into existence. The garment that it speaks about that covered Jesus with no seams. There are no seams that exist between us. We are one piece of cloth, for lack of a better term. And being that one piece of cloth, we become the tent that others find safe harbor in. We become the blanket that warms the heart of those who are troubled. We become the shelter for everything that seeks shelter and the table from which everyone and everything eats. We are the source of water to quench the thirst. We are the source of light in these dark times. We have been brought into this earth to wipe the tears from the eyes of humanity, but yet be the tears that they're shedding. No longer is there a cry, but there's a period of jubilation now. Without regard to what the earth is experiencing. Through our eyes, man must know what earth experiences are through our eye. The jubilation of the unicity of the consciousness of this earth and the consciousness of the spiritual realm has become one. And this is the tapestry that's woven without seams, without thread, without cloth, without hands. It is the thought of Insof that has brought the unicity that has been sought From the beginning, the goals are no longer goals. There are opportunities of awareness. Let the voice of what you are hearing, let it become one with you. If it resonates with you, and I'm sure it does, hold on to it. Let nothing or no one rob you of it. If it's not resonating with you, search yourself and see what's blocking it. See what stands between you and the real you. Find out what is the wall that separates you from the flow. What is the dam that stops the river from flowing in you? It is up to you to close your eyes and begin to see, to shut off your mind and allow your mind to experience the meaning of metamorphosis so that your mind and your soul can become one, with your soul being the womb that birthed your mind, so your mind can no longer dominate your soul. When your soul birthed your mind is free of the contamination and the manipulation that it has experienced, that has rendered it ineffective in this consciousness of the earth. The mind has always been there for the purpose of communing with the soul in such a manner that as above, so is below. It took on a different form when we embraced that we were slaves, that we were enslaved. That is no longer the case. Never slaves, never enslaved, never confused maybe, but never slaves. Fearful, yes, but never slaves. Aware always of love and kindness and the power of forgiveness is the one thing that has sustained us and became the pillar, the foundation of the earth that kept it from dissolving. Now that we have risen above it all, it is time for us to shoulder it all, not with arrogance, but with humility that the earth has never seen or experienced, with a type of love that we have no idea of its experiences, with a patience that no one, no mind can understand or contain, a spiritual patience that can wait for humanity to open itself up to receive from what has been offered. Death, pain, suffering, hunger, all of these things that seemingly are detrimental to humanity are the forces that pushes humanity to open itself up for something better. And these experiences are before us. The current powers of the earth does not have the capacity to love, does not have the capacity to end the suffering, does not have the capacity to see humanity as one, does not have the capacity to embrace spirituality. does not have that capacity. It has chosen the material world over everything that is spiritual. The power, the capacity to love, to embrace, to forgive is beyond any world power that exists. The powers that exist now are the same powers that in this earth conquered what is called Egypt, but it never conquered Kemet. It convinced us that Kemet had been conquered and replaced with Islam, with Christianity, with Hinduism, with Buddhism, and all the others. Kemet cannot be replaced because it is the life of the earth. It is the life of humanity. Has nothing to do with the color of your skin, but everything to do with your mindset. The further your mind is away from the center of spiritual essence, the further your mind is away from Kemet, the less capacity you have to see who you are. The road that traveled farther away from Kemet is the road that was close to Kemet. The road of education in Greece carried us further and further away from Kemet. That same road is the road that convinced the world that it was nothing unless it was under the domination of European mindsets. That has to be dispensed with. Barbara said, we can no longer be logical. Logic is the wall that separates us from spirituality. Logic is the wall that increases our ignorance to the essence of our being. Logic is the very thing that robs us of our creativity, seeks to rob us of our loving kindness, seeks to rob us of our sense of community, seeks to rob us of our affection for all of mankind. Logic is the enemy of
Pastor.
balance and essence. Yes.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to add something in real quick because I was curious about the yellow car. Why is it yellow? And I was looking at what yellow means during meditation. And the color yellow is related to acquired knowledge, the mind, and the personal intellect. It's the practical thinker, and it's known as the logical side. So that logical side could not lead you back to where you needed to be spiritually. That yellow car couldn't get you back there because it was the logical side of things, the practical thinker side of things. So it couldn't meet what you needed. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in because it made me smile when you started talking about logic.
You didn't throw it in. You didn't interrupt me. You added to, just as the other two wombs have birthed where we are, so has you. There are no interruptions. You see what you see. There's only desire to cease to be logical and practical, but to be real. I've said to many of you many times before that the heart cannot help who the heart loves. And I've spoken to you about that. And that love of which I was speaking is what the Greeks call eros, a love, a relationship, intimate love between the human heart. But the love of which I speak is a kind of love that doesn't even try to choose who it loves. It works in league with that relationship, the love of in relationships. The love that we have experienced throughout our lives has been a love that existed in our minds. But that love that exists when the heart cannot help who it loves is the type of love that loves without even trying to choose who is the recipient of it. That kind of love does not require constant physical presence because it is constantly present spiritually. The love of the mind, that mental love, the love that we have been taught, that love allows for abuse. That love allows for manipulation. That is something that we meaning humans, being confused, has brought into existence from logic. That in itself is a form of manipulation that enslaves the mind to the extent that it confuses itself and thinks that it's real when it really isn't. Real love is the love that's there regardless of how long there has been separation. You've had friends that you've not seen for years, and when you see each other, you pick up as though you've never been separate from each other. That's what I'm talking about. That's love. I'm inspired now to talk to you about love. The real thing that does not pick and choose spiritually, the real thing does not pick and choose even in this body. Love knows who it loves, and the heart does not filter. The heart simply embraces and exists for that express purpose of being the source of the energy of love itself. We have mistaken our physical desires, our mental thoughts, and our poor education for being love, when it's simply something that makes us feel good and makes us be what people want us to be, as opposed to being who we were created to be and being one with each other, whether it is on a personal level or bad term level, whether it's in a personal relationship or a spiritual relationship, just being who we are without regard to a physical distance, because there is no distance between love and the recipient of love itself. All of it is one. There's no distance between the love for an entity that harbors the energy of what Donald Trump than it is the heart that loves those who is close to it. Because all of humanity is close to us. But in those interpersonal relationships, it's different. Let our minds free itself from these logical platitudes of affection and embrace the reality of the spiritual essence of affection, of kindness, of gentleness, of the beauty of it all, without attributing beauty to something we see with our eyes, but something we experience in our soul. I'm done. Thank you. Questions, comments?
Good morning, everyone. Whoever's about to speak, y'all can go ahead. I can wait.
George, good morning. This is Barbara. I was just going to add just another comment about the coloring of the car. Audrey already talked about what it relates to psychologically and logically in terms of our consciousness. But Pastor, I remember you saying that you thought it was a nice car. And sometimes the color can be a distraction to us. The brightness, the glitter can be a distraction to us. But the internal part of it was black. And black, physically, people think black is related to mourning, etc. But from a spiritual perspective, black is related to wisdom. And so oftentimes we have wisdom within us that's not realized because we are so concerned with the external, with the external part of who we are and what we present to people and how we look to people. And it's only when we begin that internal look-see at self that we delve through the blackness and understand it's not something that's negative and mournful and death. It is death in a sense, the death of the person that I created, to understand the wisdom of the person I am created I am created as. So those two colors seem were important as well. Thank you, George. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning. Just wanted to respond with two things I wanted to respond to. Wanted to respond to Mr. George out of Philly as it relates to what he experienced. Some way you're going to have to introduce the 42 laws of Mayat if you hadn't already. That body of people in Philly, the 42 laws of Mayat. They're very simple. And to let you know, you do have some help. You can come down here and get the grill, take it on back up to Philly, and give people a righteous win. But sometimes, well, not sometimes in life, everybody needs a win. And all wins are not good. Yet a righteous win is very good. It can get contagious. It can put you on the right, or not a right, but a correct path. You got Roy, Craig, Tim, these excellent number crunchers. To teach them about.
George, may I please?
What's that?
May I interject something, please?
Go ahead, Reverend Richard.
At this moment, feeling is winning. just as Spartanburg is winning, just as the world is winning. It's winning because it has already won. And the experiences of Mayat are not what we thought they were. We thought that the experiences of Mayat were some principles on a page that we needed to explain, that we needed to read. The principles of Mayat are not words on a page. They are our constant experiences when we begin to embrace the essence of our spiritual being. When Audrey spoke, when Kathy spoke, during the course of what I was being shown, when Robert set up the program, chose the building, the principles of Mayat were at work. The voices of the male deceased were the seeds that entered the womb of those words that were being spoken, the actions that were being taken, the experiences that were being had. All of this came together to show us, to give us the sense, the experience of Mayat. Mayat is femininity. It's feminine energy that is woven together with principles. And the basic principle of Mayat is really do unto others as you will have them do unto you. That's written on the walls of the temples in Kemet. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, thy soul, and thy mind, thy strength. That's written in the walls in the temples of Kemet. These are the foundational, or this is rather the foundational compilation of all of those principles. Do unto others as you will have them do unto you. This is about not feeding people in the sense of being around the table, serving them, but being the table that they can eat from without having to set a table, without having to provide them with eating utensils, but being the table that keeps giving. The more you eat, the more appears on the table. That in itself is the win-win for humanity. That is the win for this earth. We only lose when we think we're losing. We cannot lose. It's all a mindset. Winning is not about beating something or someone. Winning is about everyone having an experience of oneness, an experience of divinity, an experience of reality, as opposed to a man-made experience of constructing a table and constructing eating utensils and constructing a chair for someone to sit in. These are principles, or those are principles that the car represents. Principles of logic. It is not the interior of the car. The wisdom that can only be understood through experiences and can never be logically explained. I want to interject that so that we can remain in this space of spiritual essence as opposed to harkening back to a space that is filled with time. Time is the enemy of progress spiritually. Time is what stymies everything. And I suggest very strongly that we do everything we can possibly do to remain in this space of meditation, free from the limitation of time itself, which means that the natural things that surround us can no longer inhibit our movement because we have been resurrected from the humanness of the physicality of these bodies. The crucifixion has taken place. The resurrection has taken place. So let's move expeditiously in a spiritual manner without having to lend ourselves to a need of physical transportation in this earth, realizing that no walls can hold us back and there is nothing that can impede our motion that carries us forward at all times. Thank you. And I appreciate George granting me that opportunity to interject these words.
Well, Mr. George, I just want you to know that the brothers and sisters in my animal kingdom,
No, George,
we'll
no,
help
no,
you.
no, 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 George, please, please. No, please. We are not in an animal kingdom. Animals are in our kingdom.
Okay,
We
well, I
are-
stand corrected.
We are
I
the
just
kingdom.
want you to know, Mr. George, there are people out here willing to help you. That's it.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it.
I don't think I'm going to the part about common logic. I'm gonna just stop while I'm ahead. But
Thank you.
thank you very much, y'all. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you. Again, we cannot be an asset to humanity unless we are an asset to humanity. What we do cannot be limited. Would you mute your phone, please? What we do cannot be limited to any specified community or geographical location because we are not geographically located. We are ubiquitous. We are spiritual beings that occupy every inch of this globe and universe. Our ubiquitous nature says to us that our desires for humanity are also ubiquitous. It covers everything and everyone. Therefore, our desire for the change in Gaza is the same desire for change and balance in Philly or any place else on this earth. We have to process in ubiquitous terms and refrain from processing in geographical, logical, local terms. That's when we process with our minds. It's an impossibility to spiritually process and not be ubiquitous at the same time. So, George, Watson, George Clark. The aid, the assistance is always there because we're not localized at all. Just like the wind, the breath is not localized. It is ubiquitous in the earth. So are we, because that's what we are. And without that presence of the wind, the breath, there is no life in this earth. We are the life in this earth that rose from the hands of light on the book of light. That's who we are. That's who we've always been. And that's who we will always remain to be. Our minds, our thoughts have to catch up with our reality. Otherwise, we remain stagnant and humanity suffers as a result of it. Thank you.
And you just open up in a whole new level the what the car represented. It's not a means of transport anymore, because the light is what is that means, and it is everywhere. And so we've always said we wanted to walk through walls, and we wanted to be able to be at several places at one time. You just showed us that we're already there. We're already there.
Thank you. Anything else? Mhm. Yeah.
I like sharing that piece with you. That's all. It's not in a hurry. Feels good. Any final thoughts? If not, this may be a good place to pause. Okay. Well, again, if there's something, because something's going to hit your mind, some of us anyway, jot it down or send a text or something, and we'll begin there tomorrow, okay? Have a great day. And thank you, Pastor. Thank you, ladies, everyone that spoke, and look forward to tomorrow. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
Thank you,
deliverance
everyone.
of the
Everybody.
message.
you.